Welcome to The Explainer. Look, today we're taking a really hard, honest look at our daily actions, and we're just dropping all the excuses. We're going to dig deep into a concept that literally separates the dreamers from the actual doers. We're talking about mastering consistency, totally rewriting your own identity, and finally putting a stop to that exhausting cycle of self-sabotage. So let me ask you this. Why do we constantly ghost our own goals? I mean, we all know the painful reality of the whole New Year, New Me cycle, right? You start out so fired up, you go out and buy that expensive new planner, the one you know you're only going to use twice, and you tell yourself, okay, this time it's actually going to be different. And then what happens? 4 months later, or let's be real, maybe just 2 weeks later, you're sitting right back in the exact same place. It is incredibly frustrating to want to be somewhere else in life, yet feel like you are just constantly self-sabotaging and spinning your wheels. Your frustration is completely valid. But today, we're going to explore exactly how to fix it. All right, here is our roadmap for today. We'll be hitting 5 main points. Number 1, the consistency problem. Number 2, novelty versus mastery. 3, the 90-91 rule explained. 4, rewiring your identity. And finally, number 5, 4 steps to implementation. Let's dive in.
Starting right off with Section 1, the consistency problem.
You know, it's really easy to assume that success requires you to be the smartest person in the room, or that you have to wake up at 4 a.m. fueled by this endless, magical motivation. But honestly, the reality is so much different. Success actually comes from doing the boring work, day after day after day. The most successful people out there aren't operating on this constant high of inspiration. Nope, they just wake up and repeat the exact same, seemingly mind-numbing tasks every single day, even when they absolutely don't want to, until they finally hit their destination. Moving on to Section 2, novelty versus mastery. Okay, so if consistency is the ultimate answer, why is it so dang hard to maintain? Well, under the surface, most of us are actually fighting a biological addiction. We're addicted to novelty. Our brains are literally wired to crave those quick dopamine spikes that come with setting new goals, starting new routines, or downloading some shiny new app. It's classic shiny object syndrome. But the moment that honeymoon phase inevitably wears off, your brain starts screaming for the next shiny object, which just completely resets your progress. Mastery, on the other hand, requires the exact opposite approach. It's repetitive, it's slow, it's boring, and because there aren't any flashy fireworks in repetition, our dopamine-starved brains just want to throw in the towel and quit. But here's the truth. Mastery is the only thing that is truly effective. Think about the number 15 for a second. Consider Steph Curry, who is arguably the greatest shooter to ever play basketball. For the last 15 years straight, he has done the exact same 90-minute pregame routine before every single game. The exact same slow, repetitive, frankly boring sequence for 15 years. He didn't go chasing a new, flashy warm-up routine just to keep things interesting. He embraced the absolute boredom of repetition to achieve true mastery. Former NBA star Dwayne Wade actually summed this concept up perfectly when he was talking about Kobe Bryant. Wade once watched Kobe practice right before a game. Kobe went to the exact same spot on the floor and shot the exact same shot for 30 minutes straight. When the actual game started, Kobe went to that exact spot. And Wade said, even though I knew exactly what he was going to do, I still couldn't stop him. Wow, that is the raw power of the boring routine. Kobe had done it tens of thousands of times. Repetition completely destroys surprise. At the end of the day, mastery beats novelty. Every time. All right, Section 3, the 90/91 rule explained. So, how do we actually force our novelty-addicted brains to embrace this mastery? Well, it requires a massive paradigm shift, and it's called the 90-91 rule. Here's how it works. For the next 90 days, you are going to spend the first 90 minutes of your workday focused on exactly one most important task. That's it. It isn't just a basic time block on your calendar. This is a sacred ritual. It is a daily, non-negotiable appointment with your future self. It essentially answers one crucial question. If absolutely everything else goes wrong today, what is the one thing I am getting done no matter what? And the deeper psychology behind why this works is just fascinating. Take the number 3. Jeff Bezos is pretty famous for making only 3 big decisions a day. Now, why would he limit himself like that? Because of decision fatigue. Every single time you sit down and have to ask yourself, what should I work on today? You are actively burning through mental energy and willpower. The 90-91 rule brilliantly removes this decision fatigue entirely. There's no debate. You already know exactly what you're doing for those first 90 minutes. Furthermore, we can actually look at the neuroscience backing this up. A 2012 study by Blakemore and Robbins showed that the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain responsible for decision-making, planning, and goal pursuit, is at its absolute strongest in the early part of the day. So why on earth would you wait until 4 p.m. to tackle your most important work? To put that into perspective, that's like trying to run a full marathon right after you just finished a grueling, heavy leg day at the gym. It's just not going to happen. By scheduling your 90 minutes early, you leverage your brain's peak state before all those daily fires and random distractions set in. Section 4, rewiring your identity. Now, this rule does something even more profound than just making you super productive. It actually rewires your entire identity. See, most people sit around waiting for motivation to strike, but motivation, it's really just an emotional weather report. It's an unpredictable, totally unstable wave. Some days it's bright and sunny, other days it pours rain. You literally cannot build a life on something that unstable. Identity, however, is your core belief of self. It is deeply anchored and totally consistent. You don't take action because you feel like it. You take action because it is quite simply who you are. Behavioral psychology actually tells us that we act in alignment with who we believe we are. Your identity is really just a story you tell yourself, based entirely on your past actions. So think about it. If you secretly believe you are lazy, but then you strictly follow this 90-90 rule for 90 days straight, your brain is going to experience major cognitive dissonance. It sits there watching you do the hard work daily, and eventually it has to say, wait a minute, I guess we aren't lazy anymore. Doing this for 90 days naturally transforms you into a consistent person because it literally forces your brain to update your identity to match your new actions. And finally, Section 5, 4 steps to implementation. So, how do we actually pull this off without getting totally overwhelmed? We're going to break it down into 4 highly practical, simple steps. Step 1, pick your one keystone habit. Step 2, choose your sacred 90-minute block. Step 3, track the days physically. And step 4, plan for resistance. Let's look a little closer at how to execute these right now. Okay, for steps 1 and 2, it really helps to pick the absolute biggest lever in your life. Ask yourself, what is the one single thing that makes everything else easier or irrelevant? For example, if you write just 500 words every morning, at the end of 90 days, you have 45,000 words. That is essentially an entire completed book. Once you pick that main task, protecting your environment is absolutely crucial. Try scheduling this 90-minute block before you even open your email, and let 100 other people dictate your day. Honestly, it might help to turn your phone off entirely. Throw on some noise-canceling headphones, and maybe even play the exact same non-vocal track on repeat. What you're doing here is intentionally engineering focus. Next up is step 3, tracking. The Jerry Seinfeld X-chain method is incredibly effective here. Go get a physical calendar. And I mean a real calendar on your wall, not some digital app you're going to ignore. Every single day you successfully complete your 90 minutes, take a marker and put a massive red X right on that day. Very quickly, you're going to build this awesome visual chain of X's. Seinfeld's whole philosophy with this was super simple. Don't break the streak. I guarantee you might find yourself showing up on days when you are dead exhausted, simply because you don't want to break that visual chain. And you're going to want to keep that chain going for a very specific reason, which brings us to the number 66. A famous 2009 study showed that it takes an average of 66 days of repeating a daily activity to build true automaticity. Basically, this means that if you can use your wall calendar to force yourself through the mental resistance for those first 66 days, the action actually becomes effortless. So if you commit to this 90-day rule, you're mathematically guaranteeing that this new, highly productive behavior becomes a totally natural part of who you are. Finally, step 4, planning for resistance. Let's be real for a second. You are going to get bored. Expect it. Your comfort zone is going to throw a tantrum. But if you do accidentally break the chain, I want you to keep this in mind. Missing one day isn't a failure. It's feedback. Just don't miss 2 days in a row. You absolutely need to give yourself some grace, but you also have to demand a quick recovery. If you miss a day, investigate exactly why it happened, adjust your environment, and get right back on the horse the very next day. No excuses. Which brings us to the final big question I want to leave you with today. Will you let your brain just chase another shining object, starting yet another project you know you're going to abandon in 3 weeks,
Or are you going to anchor your identity, finally embrace the boring repetition of true mastery, and start with just 90 minutes tomorrow morning? The choice is entirely yours. Thank you so much for learning with me today, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.